So, if you're a finance leader, you've been hearing about digital transformation for years now, right? You've probably poured a ton of resources into it. So why do your order-to-cash automation projects keep hitting a brick wall? Well, the answer is a problem a lot of vendors don't like to talk about, the absolute nightmare that is the last mile.
This quote from our source material, man, it just nails it. You can automate 99% of your entire process, but that final, critical step, getting a perfectly compliant invoice to a specific customer in a specific country following their specific rules, that's where everything just crumbles into manual chaos. That's the last mile. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why it keeps failing and, more importantly, look at a totally new approach that might finally actually solve it.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, the last mile problem. We really need to get our heads around why this isn't just some tiny glitch in the system. It's a fundamental breakdown when faced with the sheer complexity of today's global market.
And the scale of this challenge? It's just huge. We're not talking about a couple of tricky regulations here and there. We're talking about a tangled spiderweb of over 80 countries, and every single one has its own unique, and, this is the key part, constantly changing e-invoicing rules. For any centralized system, just trying to keep up is an absolute nightmare.
Let's make this really concrete. Just look at Latin America. If you're invoicing in Brazil, you need real-time validation from the government. In Mexico, you got to use very specific tax codes for their CFDI 4.0 system. Chile has its own completely different authentication process. You see the pattern? It's a mess of different XML formats, different certificates, different validation rules for every single country.
And this problem isn't just isolated to one region. Hop over to Europe. You've got the Pebble network, which is supposed to standardize things, but it just adds its own layer of complexity with access points. Then you've got country-specific platforms like Italy's Fattura, France's Chorus Pro, and Germany's jumping in with a new mandate in 2025. It's a total patchwork of requirements, not some unified system. And it just keeps going. Look at the Asia-Pacific region. India needs you to generate an invoice registration number within 24 hours. Malaysia, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, they are all rolling out their own, very distinct systems. The point is, this problem is global, it's fragmented, and it's getting more complex by the day.
So how have we been trying to fix this? Well, the traditional way is to just throw people at the problem. You hire armies of local experts and specialists. It's incredibly expensive, and it just doesn't scale. Then a few years ago, RPA, or robotic process automation, came along. But here's the fatal flaw. RPA bots are just dumb rule followers. They're like a cook who can only follow one recipe perfectly. The second a government changes a tax code or an XML format, the recipe changes, the bot breaks. It can't adapt, it can't reason. It's fundamentally the wrong tool for such a dynamic job.
So all this brings us to a completely new way of thinking about the problem. If rigid rules are doomed to fail, what's the alternative? The answer isn't just slightly better automation. It's about deploying genuine intelligence. This new approach is built on a really cool concept called customer fingerprinting. Now, don't think of this as some static customer profile. It's more like a living, breathing intelligence map for every single customer. It's constantly learning and adapting by pulling in data from your ERP, government portals, even your customers' payment behaviors. It's designed to replace all those rigid if this then that rules with actual human-like reasoning.
And here's what that reasoning actually sounds like in the real world. An AI agent doesn't just see a rule that says Brazil. It thinks, okay, this customer needs an NFV format. I've also noticed that their submissions succeed 94% of the time on the first try when I include this one optional field. And hey, I've learned that if I add the Boleto barcode, we get paid on average 6 days faster. You see, it's connecting dozens of tiny data points to figure out the absolute best path to success.
And that's the real light bulb moment here. The key takeaway is this. We are moving away from trying to configure a system with thousands of brittle, easy-to-break rules to deploying an intelligence that actually learns how to navigate those rules on its own for each and every customer. It's a huge, profound shift. Now, this massive shift in technology forces an even bigger strategic decision. This isn't just about which software tool you buy anymore. It's about where your corporate intelligence lives and, more importantly, who controls it. And that leads to this crucial strategic question you have to ask yourself. Are you going to rent your intelligence from some big centralized cloud service, or are you going to own it? The answer you choose has massive implications for your company's security, your costs, and your long-term competitive advantage. Let's break that down, because it's so important. The old centralized model means you're shipping your most sensitive financial data off to someone else's cloud. Your costs can spiral out of control.
There's latency, which kills any chance of real-time decision-making. And here's the worst part. Your data is being used to train a model that your biggest competitor is also using. You're literally training their AI. The Edge AI solution flips that whole model on its head. Small, powerful language models run right there, on your hardware. Latency? Zero. Your data never leaves your control. Costs are fixed. And the intelligence you build becomes your proprietary weapon, your competitive edge.
And listen, don't mistake this for some far-off science fiction future. The hardware and software to do this exist right now, today. We're talking about powerful workstations from NVIDIA, new AI-ready chips from Intel and AMD, incredible open-source models like Llama and Mistral. On-device AI is a practical, achievable reality for businesses.
Okay, so if the technology is real and the strategy is clear, what's the smart way to get started? How do you move from theory to action without getting burned or trying to do too much at once?
First things first, you've got to learn how to spot the hype, because there's a lot of it out there. So here's a quick litmus test for you. When a vendor says their AI handles exceptions, you need to ask, does it just flag the problem for a human to fix? Or can it autonomously reason its way to a solution and then explain why it made that choice? Real AI adapts dynamically to brand new situations it's never seen before, and it actually improves itself over time. Use these questions to cut right through the marketing fluff.
Next, you have to be strategic about where you start. Please don't try to boil the ocean. The source material is very clear on this. Begin with cash application and dispute management. Why there? Because that's where 60 to 70% of your manual work is happening right now. It's the area that directly impacts your cash flow and your days sales outstanding. You solve that first, you prove the massive ROI, and then you expand to take on that global invoicing beast.
Okay, for our final section, let's pull the lens back and look at the long-term vision. Because this isn't just about fixing today's headaches, it's about laying the foundation for the truly autonomous finance enterprise of the next decade.
This timeline kind of shows how all these different technologies are going to come together. In just the next couple of years, agentic AI and edge AI are going to become the standard. Then, enterprise-specific language models running locally become the norm. Later in the decade, other tech like digital identity will come in and basically wipe out B2B fraud. And the endgame? A truly autonomous finance function, where over 95% of all processes are fully automated.
So how fast is this future actually coming at us? The source makes a really bold prediction, and it boils down to this one number: 36. In just 36 months, that's 3 years, having this kind of agentic AI running your order-to-cash process won't be some fancy competitive advantage. It will be table stakes. It'll just be the price of admission to even compete in the market.
And that really leaves us with one final crucial question. The technology is here, the path forward is becoming clearer every day, and the clock is absolutely ticking. The choice isn't if your company will transform, but when. So will you be the one leading your organization into this new autonomous future? Or will you be the one trying to explain to your board why you're a step behind, scrambling to catch up?